Hey everyone, it's Waseem Bashir, and in this video I'm going to show you some of the basics of how to use Unbounce and how to build a landing page within Unbounce. Unbounce is one of my favorite tools for building landing pages, so I'll cover some of the basics in this video, but I'll have more videos coming up with more advanced topics. Let's get started. Great, so now you've got Unbounce open and you've logged into your account. I've got a test account here which I'm going to use. So the first thing you will see here, you will have your dashboard where you can see all your pages and you can add pop-ups, integrations, domains and other stuff. I'm not going to go into that much detail in this first video. So in this video I'm going to talk about how to create your first landing page. In order to create a landing page, you can click this button, Create New. On this page, you have quite a few options. You can either select a pre-made template from Unbounce, and there's quite a few templates here. In my experience, I've never actually used these templates, but they could be a good starting point. So I would usually start with a blank template, and then I would put a name here. Great, now you have your first landing page. It's completely blank, and you have the option to add stuff here. So if you notice, if you ever use Photoshop, there's a thing here called contents. It's almost like layers in Photoshop where you can see all the elements which you have on the page. And on the right side, you have properties for every element. So if you don't have anything selected, by default, it will show you the properties of your page. And let me try to add a text element. So if I drag it over the canvas, I can see I've got that selected, and now all the properties of the text element show up, and I can here change or configure the different properties of the text element. Notice here you will also have the mobile preview, and if you turn it on, by default by the way it's off, so if you're wondering why you can't see or why the page is not responsive on your mobile, just make sure you have that switch on. And then when you click on the tab mobile, it will then take you into the mobile preview, and this is where most of issues happen, because although you can see you have put your text element correctly, or at least it's aligned correctly, sometimes in the mobile preview it might be going over and the user or the visitor on the page won't see this text. So just make sure whenever you add an element, just come to the mobile preview and make sure everything looks okay here. So the first thing also I would say is to add a section. So sections are literally blocks of different elements which you can group together, and that way you can move them around. It's like grouping quite a few of different elements so that it's easier to move them across or to delete them or to hide them. They're very powerful, especially if you want to hide a section on mobile versus desktop. So if you want to show a section only on desktop, you can go into the mobile preview and literally click this element and click this little eye icon, and it will hide it on the mobile. So notice it doesn't hide up in desktop, so that's why there's a huge kind of power here, because you can turn things on and off depending on what device you're using. The next important element which every landing page usually has, especially a lead generation landing page, is a form. And there's already a component here called form, and you can drag it and drop it over to the canvas. So creating a form in Unbounce is relatively very simple. They're predefined fields. So for example, first name, last name, phone number, email. So those are the typical fields which you want to capture. And if you click on any of these field elements, you will notice you have the field label, you have the placeholder text, and you also have the field ID. Field IDs are very powerful, especially when you want to integrate with your CMS or your CRM. So if you want to keep a name which kind of is relevant to what you use in your CRM, just make sure you can you use the same name, and you can easily edit it here. You can make fields mandatory by putting this checkbox here called required field, or if you want to just, so let me actually create this form and I can show you how it looks. So this is how the form looks, and we can easily move it across the canvas. This is one of the benefits of Unbounce. So that's one of our sections. I can move this form over to the main, to the section here, and similarly you will see this happen over in mobile. As I mentioned before, sometimes you will have to adjust the elements because they don't fit the canvas size of the desktop. So even if you're moving something over here, it won't really reflect in desktop because mobile almost has got its own canvas. So as previously mentioned, every element has got its own property. So if I click on the form here, it will show up all the properties on the right side. It's this property window only appears when you have the element selected. So make sure whenever you want to edit any item on Unbounce, just make sure you click on it first. And if you want to go back and add more fields, you have two options. You can click the edit form fields or simply just double click. I find double clicking pretty easy. And then if you want to now, let's say, change the text of this button, which at the moment says form button, you can literally just click on the button, and in here there's text element, and you can say get free PDF, for example. And that button has got its own kind of widget, and you can easily extend it, stretch it. You can define different colors. We've noticed if you obviously add an overlay color as well, when somebody hovers over the mouse, that usually indicates it's a button. And one of the cool thing is in Unbounce you can set up corner radius through which you can easily define how the button looks. So whether it's a square button or more like a capsule button, and all you have to do is drag this element over to 100% and it will create that capsule effect. So we've seen how the form elements are added, but if you want to add your custom ones, you have the option of adding them by just clicking them and saying I want a single line text element or a multi-line text element. Single line text elements are obviously just single line. Multi-line are usually for descriptions. For example, if I add a multi-line component, I can say here, tell us about your project, and that could be the label which sits on the form, and I can, as a field name, I can just say a message. So that will be the element or the ID which I'm going to use later on when connecting to a CRM. And if I want to make it required, I can easily turn that setting on and off. So if I click done here, I can now see my element or my new field, tell us about your project, has been added. And similarly, if I go to my mobile view, I can see it over here. So just to again slightly adjust it, I will move this bar here. Cool. So now we've seen how the labels and the forms work, but there's also one little cool thing which I like, which is default text. So if you don't like the way these boxes are empty and there's field names defined here, you can actually turn them off and put in the default placeholder text, enter your first name. And the difference is there's no label here and there's default text, which makes the form relatively leaner. And if I do that for other elements, oh yes, this is one issue where the multi-line field element doesn't really have the default text property. So as you can see here, there's a field placeholder text and there is no placeholder text where we can add default text. And in order to do that, we have to use CSS, which I'm going to talk about later on in the series. So at the moment, that's how our form will look. But if I get rid of this ugly component for now, so you can see the difference between that and what we had previously. So that's the first thing you would do on an Unbounce page, have some text and you would add your form. But the next obvious thing is to add images, make the form look prettier, and make the whole page more conversion focused. We'll talk more about how to design a page in Unbounce later on in the series, but the final thing which I would suggest is once you click on your form, you have the ability to send the user to a thank you page or show them a message. And in order to do that, you can simply click a button here which says confirmation, and in here you can define exactly what should happen after the user submits the form. And in my case, I just want to show them a confirmation dialog, and at that point, if I want to show them a confirmation dialog, I can see there's a new tab added here, and if I click on that tab, that is the message I will show to my user. So if I say thank you for submitting, so I can easily change the text. I can again use these widgets and add more stuff, so I can add an image, video, there's no limit. And again, the mobile preview shows you exactly how the form will look on a mobile screen. So if I go back by clicking this tab here, this is my page, and in order to now actually preview the page, I have two options. So I can click save and then click preview. So usually what I do is on my Mac, I'm holding the command key so that it opens in a new tab. Otherwise it'll open up in the same tab, which although is a good thing, but it kind of makes you then go back to the canvas. So that's how our page looks at the moment. So if I want to now actually publish this, so notice it's actually right now in the Unbounce preview mode. In order to publish it, I will go back to my editor and go back and click overview here. And you will notice once you have this page, it will be hosted under unbouncepages.com. That's the default domain Unbounce uses for all the pages. Later on in the series, I'll cover how you can point a different domain to your landing page URL so that you can use your actual domain. So in order to actually publish it on the domain, just click publish and click publish now. It takes a few seconds to obviously publish the page. Once the page is published, you will notice you have a URL which you can now use and send traffic to. So this is how the page looks. It has a Unbounce URL, which obviously is ugly, but at least we have a page which is live, and you can use this for your own stuff. In the dashboard, you have lots of options here, and we will cover them in depth in our series. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Please feel free to add your comments and subscribe to the channel. If you liked watching this video, please subscribe to my channel, and I will cover more topics on some of the basics and some of the advanced features in Unbounce. See you next time.